Hello, my darlings. Kenny and I are here, ready for a read aloud. We're very excited. Today is Friday, March 20th, 2020, and Kenny's really missing baseball. He's really bummed that opening day had to be moved. So this little cubby is ready though for a read aloud. I hope you've had a really good day. I hope you've had some time to laugh with your family. I hope you've helped out, maybe helped make lunch, maybe helped fold laundry, maybe done a chore to help your family. I was drawing today, and I also made I helped my husband make some delicious oatmeal, and we're having a really good day. Kenny has been falling asleep to it or read aloud, so you might hear him snore. Okay, so let's jump back into our story. So we are still on chapter 1 of Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. We are on the chapter called The Boy Who Lived. And we just learned about a baby, Harry. We learned about a baby who lived after an evil wizard tried to kill him, and this evil wizard's name is Voldemort. And we know that all the wizards in the land are celebrating that he's gone. And he tried to kill Harry, and something happened, and he wasn't able to kill him. We don't know why though yet, so we're gonna find out. Now, we met a witch and a wizard. The wizard's name is Albus Dumbledore, and the witch's name is Professor McGonagall. And so we are going to see what's going to happen next. It's true, faltered Professor McGonagall. After all he's done, all the people he's killed, he couldn't kill a little boy. It's just astounding. Of all the things to stop him, but how in the name of heaven did Harry survive? We can only guess, said Dumbledore. We may never know. Professor McGonagall pulled out a lace handkerchief and dabbed at her eyes beneath her spectacles. Dumbledore gave a great sniff as he took a golden watch from his pocket and examined it. Kenny snoring. It was a very odd watch. It had 12 hands, but no numbers. Instead, little planets were moving around the edge. It must have made sense to Dumbledore, though, because he put it back in his pocket and said, Hagrid's late. I suppose it was he who told you I'd be here, by the way. Yes, said Professor McGonagall, and I don't suppose you're going to tell me why you're here, of all places. I've come to bring Harry to his aunt and uncle. They're the only family he has left now. You can't mean the people who live here, cried Professor McGonagall, jumping to her feet and pointing at number 4. Dumbledore, you can't. I've been watching them all day. You couldn't find 2 people who are less like us. And they've got this son. I saw him kicking his mother all the way up the street, screaming for sweets. Harry Potter, come and live here. It's the best place for him, said Dumbledore firmly. His aunt and uncle will be able to explain everything to him when he's older. I've written them a letter. A letter? Repeated Professor McGonagall faintly, sitting back down on the wall. Really, Dumbledore, you think you can explain all this in a letter? These people will never understand him. He'll be famous, a legend. I wouldn't be surprised if today was known as Harry Potter Day in future. There will be books written about Harry. Every child in our world will know his name. Exactly, said Dumbledore, looking very seriously over the top of his half-moon glasses. It would be enough to turn any boy's head. Famous before he can walk and talk, famous for something he won't even remember. Can't you see how much better off he'll be growing up away from all of that until he's ready to take it? Professor McGonagall opened her mouth. changed her mind, swallowed, and then said, "Yes. Yes, you're right, of course. But how is the boy getting here, Dumbledore?" She eyed his cloak suddenly as though she thought he might be hiding Harry underneath it. "Hagrid's bringing him." "You think it wise to trust Hagrid with something as important as this?" "I would trust Hagrid with my life," said Dumbledore. "I'm not saying his heart isn't in the right place," said Professor McGonagall grudgingly. "But you can't pretend he's not careless. He does tend to—" What was that? A low rumbling sound had broken the silence around them. It grew steadily louder as they looked up and down the street for some sign of a headlight. It swelled to a roar as they both looked up at the sky. And a huge motorbike fell out of the air and landed on the road in front of them. If the motorbike was huge, it was nothing compared to the man sitting astride it. He was almost twice as tall as a normal man and at least 5 times as wide. He looked simply too big to be allowed, and so wild. Long tangles of bushy black hair and a beard hid most of his face. He had hands the size of dustbin lids, and his feet in their leather boots were like baby dolphins. In his vast muscular arms, he was holding a bundle of blankets. And I'll show you a picture. There's a great illustration of Hagrid. There he is. Do you see how giant his hands are? His motorbike looks so small. I love Hagrid. Did you see Kenny? What do you think of Hagrid? Kenny is unimpressed by Hagrid. Okay, you can go back to sleep. Mwah. "Hagrid," said Dumbledore, sounding relieved. "At last! And where did you get that motorbike?" "Borrowed it, Professor Dumbledore, sir," said the giant, climbing carefully off the motorbike. As he spoke, young Sirius Black lent it to me. "I've got him, sir." "No problems, were there?" "No, sir. House was almost destroyed, but I got him out all right before the muggles started swarming around. He fell asleep as we was flying over Bristol." Dumbledore and Professor McGonagall bent forward over the bundle of blankets. Inside, just visible, was a baby boy fast asleep. Who do you think that is? We'll see. Under a tuft of jet black hair over his forehead, they could see a curiously shaped cut, like a bolt of lightning. "Is that where?" whispered Professor McGonagall. "Yes," said Dumbledore. "He'll have that scar forever." "Couldn't you do something about it, Dumbledore?" "Even if I could, I wouldn't. Scars can come in useful. I have one myself above my left knee, which is a perfect map of the London Underground. Well, give him here, Hagrid. We better get this over with." You okay, bud? Excuse me, Kenny adjustment. Dumbledore took Harry in his arms and turned towards the Dursleys' house. Could I say goodbye to him, sir?" asked Hagrid. He bent his great shaggy head over Harry and gave him what must have been a very scratchy, whiskery kiss. Then suddenly Hagrid let out a howl like a wounded dog. I know, right? "Shh!" hissed Professor McGonagall. "You'll wake the muggles." "Sorry," sobbed Hagrid, taking out a large spotted handkerchief and burying his face in it. "But I can't stand it. Lily and James dead and poor little Harry off to live with muggles." Yes, it's very sad. But get a grip on yourself, Hagrid, or we'll be found, Professor McGonagall whispered, patting Hagrid gingerly on the arm as Dumbledore stepped over the low garden wall and walked to the front door. He laid Harry gently on the doorstep, took a letter out of his cloak, tucked it inside Harry's blankets, then came back to the other two. For a full moment, the three of them stood and looked at the little bundle. Hagrid's shoulders shook. Professor McGonagall blinked furiously, and the twinkling light that usually shone from Dumbledore's eyes seemed to have gone out. Well, said Dumbledore finally, that's that. We've no business staying here. We may as well go and join the celebrations. Yeah, said Hagrid in a very muffled voice. I'd best get this bike away. Good night, Professor McGonagall. Professor Dumbledore, sir. Wiping his streaming eyes on his jacket sleeve, Hagrid swung himself onto the motorbike and kicked the engine into life. With a roar, it rose into the air and off into the night. I shall see you soon, I expect, Professor McGonagall, said Dumbledore, nodding to her. Professor McGonagall blew her nose in reply. Dumbledore turned and walked back down the street. On the corner, he stopped and took out the silver putter-outer. He clicked it once, and 12 balls of light sped back to their street lamps, so that Privet Drive glowed suddenly orange, and he could make out a tabby cat slinking around the corner at the other end of the street. He could just see the bundle of blankets on the step of number 4. Good luck, Harry, he murmured. He turned on his heel, and with a swish of his cloak, he was gone. A breeze ruffled the neat hedges of Privet Drive, which lay silent and tidy under the inky sky, the very last place you would expect astonishing things to happen. Harry Potter rolled over inside his blankets without waking up. One small hand closed on the letter beside him, and he slept on, not knowing he was special, not knowing he was famous, not knowing he would be woken in a few hours' time by Mrs. Dursley's scream as she opened the front door to put out the milk bottles, nor that he would spend the next few weeks being prodded and pinched by his cousin Dudley. And he wouldn't know that at that very moment, people meeting in secret all over the country were holding up their glasses and saying in hushed voices, "To Harry Potter, the boy who lived." That is the end of the first chapter of one of the best books in the whole world. I'll show you the really cool illustration. See? Do you see Hagrid on his motorbike? Because he's flying all over the city. The next chapter, we won't read it today, but the next chapter is called The Vanishing Glass. And look at this title. I see a lizard. Do you know what that kind of lizard is called? It's called a chameleon. Oh, how exciting. All right. Have a wonderful evening. I love you all. I miss you all. Stay safe. Wash your hands. Love you all. Mwah. Good night.